Welcome everybody to our first Art of Pino tasting. This is a very exciting one for us. We've never done anything like this. So we're here in the barrel room. I'm Joe Wagner, the owner and winemaker of Copper Cane Wines and Provisions, and we've partnered with one of our favorite partners, Total Wine & More, to bring the personalities of these wines to life. So today with me, we have an amazing portrait artist, Tracy Piper, who's going to be using acrylic paints to follow through as we taste these wines and talk about their style, their character, and bring them to the canvas. So it should be a ton of fun to taste. Welcome, Tracy.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to bring personality onto the canvas right from the wine. I've gotten to taste a little bit. We're going to taste a little more. I'm so excited.
All right. Well, we'll try not to get too hopped up and do something stupid during this period, but let's definitely enjoy these wines and have a little free-flowing conversation at the same time.
I like that. Yeah.
So why don't we go ahead and get started? We're going to begin with the Elouan Pinot Noir. This is our Oregon Pinot Noir project. Started experimenting in 2012, had our first release of the 2013 vintage. Well, we had a lot of experience throughout California growing and making Pinot Noir. Curiosity got the best of me, and I went up to Oregon to see what we could do up there. It's been a well-known region for amazing Pinot Noirs at a world-class level. So if you don't have your glass full yet, I encourage you to grab a glass, fill it up, and start swirling along with us. So talking about some of the basic descriptors of this wine, you know, Elouan and Oregon in general, it's a very cool area. So you get brighter acidity in these wines, a little more minerality in general. But let's get a little bit deeper as you get those spice tones on the nose. I think it's a very expressive type of wine. I think generally people look at Pinot Noir as being a more feminine type wine because it has such a beauty and elegance to it. And Oregon really captures that character, I think, more so than most other regions that grow Pinot Noir. So I'd love to taste this wine and see that kind of beautiful elegance come through.
Oh, I'm going to have a sip first. Then I'll really know who she is, you know.
This has a very focused element to it. I'd call this a very articulate style of wine, but it also has a very curious nature about it. So there's a lot of layers to this one.
Do you feel like if the wine was a person, would she be kind of more like a seafood, or is she like a steak kind of girl? What do you think?
I'm gonna say that this is more of a seafood, very spice driven, kind of those exotic spices that almost get into, you know, some of those kind of traditional Indian foods and even go off of, you know, the general spectrum of what you pair wine with and get into some, you know, Thai and kind of Asian cuisines with this wine. The acidity backs it up beautifully.
She's definitely fashionable, I feel like, you know.
I would say definitely fashionable,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
But you know, not just fashionable, but, you know, kind of the type of wine that wants you to be curious about it, wants you to learn more, but it's not going to be outgoing and showcasing those. So it wants you to kind of dissect its layers and really, you know, fall for it in a way, almost like a cool, distant sort of nature about it. And then once you start unraveling the true personality of it, you just fall in love and your glass should empty very quickly.
I love it. Yeah, she's cool, but she doesn't need you to know she's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like it.
So I'll talk a little bit about Elouan and how it came to be. But before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about the history of how I got into this business. I started in 2001 making Belle Glos, but my family came here to the United States in the 1850s. They immigrated here from Alsace. They got into Napa Valley, and they started planting grapes and making some wines, and they had a good run of it up until Prohibition shut them down. They resorted to other crops like prunes and walnuts, and in the late 60s, they weren't making ends meet, and they had to get back into something that would make them money. And so they made a proposal to start a commercial wine business, and they began what is now Camus Vineyards. They continued to run that operation. In 2001, I got involved, started working for my family, developed Belle Glos, focusing just on Pinot Noirs, which was not the norm for my family. We were focused on Cabernet. But as I started growing Pinot Noir before that, you could have this sense of character from the areas where these grapes are grown. Pinot Noir conveys those attributes of the specific site better than any other varietal. And that's what I fell in love with. So it's truly a time capsule capturing a place and a time to be carried on for years to come and enjoyed. And so as a kind of translator of that physical site, no other variety does it better than Pinot Noir. So, as time grew on, I got curious, started making more wines, and trying to farm grapes in other areas. And that brought us up to Oregon. So with Elouan, our intention here was to take our winemaking style, which I'll get into in a little bit, to a very different type of terroir. So what we have in Oregon is very cool, but a lot of sunlight, and that is what drives the style of this wine. So think about California in general. We're a bit warmer. We have quite a bit of sunlight. But as you move north, as you get up higher in those latitudes, you end up having longer daylight hours during the summer. At summer solstice, we have about 45 minutes more than our southern growing regions of daylight per day. So compound that over days and weeks and months, and you have a very profound impact on the grapes and therefore the wine. So the name Elouan means good light. It was a Breton word or kind of a form of Old English. And I felt that really captured the essence of what we were trying to convey and the differences in what we do in Oregon in comparison to what we do here in California. So where do we make all these wines? Well, we have one winery right here. We're in one of our barrel rooms. We bring all of our fruit, whether it's Willamette Valley as far north in Oregon or Santa Barbara County where we grow Clark and Telephone. We bring all of the fruit here so that we're able to control things to a very high degree. And that's what really, I think, separates, our character of wines from many of the others out there.
Yeah, I like that description of light and airy. I feel like that's kind of what I'm going for on this canvas right now. She's like in the sunlight, enjoying the afternoon. I really feel that when I drink it too. I think it's a great description. Yeah,
that cool, natural sort of purity really does come through. So I can't wait to see what you got on the canvas.
Ooh, I'm excited. She's coming out. She's coming out.
So we've got a few questions here. How are our wines so rich and robust? And actually, this is a great conversation to start in consideration of how we bring the fruit from these far reaches, from Willamette Valley, Umpqua Valley, Rogue Valley in Oregon, all the way through to Napa, Sonoma, Monterey, and Santa Barbara counties here in California. Well, upon picking, we use dry ice to layer that in as we pick, so it chills the fruit down rapidly. Once we get it into the winery, we destem, so we do not want to crush the berries. We want to keep them as whole as possible. And then once we get those berries in the tank, we then add more dry ice. So dry ice is carbon dioxide in its solid form. So you have that heat transfer, cooling it rapidly, and it dissipates into CO2 as a gas. So what does that do to benefit our wines? Well, it has a freezing element. And we happened upon this by accident in the mid-2000s, where we realized that the standard in the business is what's called a cold soak, where you kind of, allow the cell walls and the skins to soften up so that you can get extraction of those color compounds and those phenolic compounds, the mouthfeel components, more readily during fermentation. When you freeze those cell walls, they burst open. So consider like a soda can put in your freezer. Over a period of time, that liquid will freeze, expand, and pop that can open. Does the same thing in the cell walls, and it's those cell walls and the skins that hold all of those characters that we want to extract and convey in the wine. So we call it cryo-extraction, and cryo-extraction is kind of the benchmark of how we start our winemaking process. So it's like an augmented cold soak. Upon finishing that cryo-extraction period, we go straight into a cold fermentation. So rather than having a 1 week period of fermentation, sometimes less, which is pretty common in making red wines, we're able to extend that over to a 2 week or more period so we can slowly coax out these characters and really focus on getting these rich and extremely dark and a ton of depth in the wines. And that is how we create not just our Pinot Noirs, but our Cabernet and our Quilt. And I think that it's a unique style that really, truly captures what Mother Nature gave us. If we're not getting all of those characters out, then we're not truly expressing the terroir that is there for us to take. So also want to let everybody know that as Tracy is painting these portraits and bringing these bottles of wine to life, we are going to have a raffle. To win that raffle, we're going to be doing 3 paintings, one for each of the wines in front of us. Just send an email to winemakerjoe@coppercane.com and put the title in as Art of Pino. And we'll select 3 winners. You will not just win one of her world-famous portraits showcasing the characters of each of these wines, but you will also be receiving a bottle of wine. So please join us at winemakerjoe@coppercane.com to win. How is that portrait coming along?
Who is so close? I tell you right now, she is so beautiful, and I feel like I got it.
Well, take your time. We don't want to rush the art.
I like the challenge.
So tell us a little bit about how you got into portrait painting.
A long time ago, world away, I was a circus performer. And after I hurt my back, I realized I wanted to still stay in art. So I decided to pick up painting. And one of the things about being a circus performer is you work with people from all over the world. And so that kind of connection to humanity, I really wanted to capture still with my work, and show the beautiful variety of human nature and human people. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I love your portraits. I've seen the ones you have online. So we're very excited to be able to see how you bring these wines to a more personalized nature.
Yeah, and what's fun about this, in 2018, I started doing these series of fictional portraits, and that's kind of what we're doing today, right? Like we're taking the ideas of the wine and then translating that. This person doesn't exist in the real world. She's made up, and all the paintings will be that way, but it's like a really fun way to kind of just play with personality.
Absolutely. This should be a ton of fun to see.
Would you like the reveal?
Yes, let's do the reveal.
Okay.
I'm very excited.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's beautiful.
So she's kind of like light, airy, you know. This is her after she's had her seafood bisque, you know. she's just enjoying the sunshine and having a wonderful glass of Elouan.
I love the use of colors, and it looks like she has a hat on, kind of
Yeah.
that boho style.
Yeah.
Little free-flowing hair.
Yeah. But still fashionable, still cool.
Definitely. Still cool and fashionable.
Yeah.
Her eyes kind of tell you that too. They're just kind of like, I'm too cool for school.
Yeah, she's kind of looking at you like, I know. Well, voila.
All right. Awesome.
Let's start the next one, yeah?
Shall we? Well, if you haven't poured yourself a glass of the Venstone Pinot Noir, I highly recommend you do. This wine is something we developed in collaboration with Total Wine & More, so this wine can only be found at Total Wine & More stores. As you may know, I was the founder and winemaker of a brand called Meiomi. And I sold that brand in 2015, and I wanted to bring back that style of wine as it was known so that people can enjoy this tri-county, so multi-appellation Pinot Noir. I think it's a great way to express Pinot Noir. It's got so many different characters because of our broad sourcing philosophy. So why don't we get right into it so that Tracy can start putting the beauty of this wine onto the canvas. It's a very young wine. This is a youthful wine. And I would say it's got a masculinity to it for a Pinot Noir. You can tell that it's got a weight and a structure that is different. You can even get it off of the nose. It's dark berry tones. The spices are much darker as well.
Definitely
a little more oak.
Definitely a strength, I feel like, for sure. So I think we'll make it a man, this portrait.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's got like a ruggedness to it, you know?
Yeah.
And thinking about our sourcing philosophy between Sonoma, Monterey, and Santa Barbara counties, there's kind of like almost like a traveling aspect to this. So a sense of wanderlust. Maybe somebody who's like
he's seen the world.
Yeah, seen the world.
Yeah.
Photographer, traveler, artistic in a sense. It's an optimistic wine. This is a wine I think that kind of breaks convention of Pinot Noir, which is typically more vineyard designated. This goes to a number of different vineyards to create more layers of flavor and character.
So would you say this guy, is he kind of more drawn to like warmer temperatures, or is he like kind of like that cool, like city kind of a feel? What do you think?
I'm going to say the coast.
The coast.
Yeah, so kind of moderate
sense.
all year round. Loves the essence of the coastline. I think there's something kind of like a rebirth sense, like that youthfulness again when you're on the coast. I think that's very much in here, and I think the ruggedness of it too.
Yeah.
That kind of conveys through. Maybe he gets out on the waves. He's a bit of a risk taker at times. Likes to push the limits, abalone diving, who knows what, all the things that you do along California's coast.
Definitely.
Active, chiseled, strappy,
You're describing my kind of man right now. I like it. We can do this. I'm excited. Here we go. Let's see.
So when we started Venstone, we took a style of wine that we were very well known for, and I wanted to create something I think just a little more spectacular than what we had done in the past with Mayomi. And so with this, we lead with Sonoma County, which is a very strong style of Pinot Noir, very berry oriented, it's like a Bing cherry, very good earthiness to it, and a nice minerality. Then you go into Monterey County, and Monterey County definitely has those super dark fruit tones, like stewed berries, almost like pie filling. And I think that the tones of kind of almost go to like cured meats in a way. And I get that kind of almost Syrah tone from those Monterey components. And then moving down into Santa Barbara, it really is about a brighter fruit tone, getting into cranberries and strawberries, but then also having this kind of spice tone to it. So those things I think all contribute to this broad spectrum style of Pinot Noir. And Pinot Noir, in my interpretation, is the best food wine out there. This in particular, Venstone, with this philosophy of working with 3 different regions, as the Venstone name suggests, it is the center point of a Venn diagram, taking these 3 contributing components and creating a whole that is better than any of its individual parts. And that gives us not just the ability to create a diverse flavor profile, but also to create something that broadly pairs with a large array of foods. And I think accommodates a large spectrum of palate preferences as well. And at the end of the day, we're trying to create wines that excite people and beg them back for another bite of what they're eating or another sip of what they're drinking. That is what a balanced wine should do, and I think we've got that with Venstone. So Tracy, how's it coming along?
He's looking attractive to me.
All right. What is his sign? If you have to say?
I feel like, we were talking, I was like maybe a Capricorn, but then you mentioned Aries, and he is definitely an Aries. I feel like now that I'm painting him and I'm feeling him and I've tasted the wine, he's strong, he's confident.
Strong, confident, a little stubborn at times, but for the right reasons?
Right.
Is that, yeah? Okay.
Sounds like my husband. Sorry, honey.
He's going to love you for it.
I know, right? Strong's a good quantifier.
Are you painting your husband over there?
Yes. Inspired by.
So, while we're talking about names, Copper Cane, which is the name of our portfolio, but it's more than that. Copper Cane is really the foundation of creating the style of wines that we do. So when we go out and we assess the maturity of a vineyard, the standard in our business is to look at the sugars and the acid levels in the grapes themselves. The problem with that is every year is different. Mother Nature gives us something different in every year. So some years you may have higher sugars based on the amount of hang time you have, meaning how long that fruit has been on the vine developing. And that could be due to crop yields. If you have a light crop year with a lot of heat spikes, sugar accumulation is going to come quick, but you're not going to have the development of flavor. In cool years with a normal size crop, the same is true. You're going to have a harder time achieving sugars, but you're going to have that amount of time for the flavors and characters to develop on the vine. So we disregarded completely looking at sugars and acid levels to determine our picking decisions. And that was when we realized that it was more about the physiological attributes of the grapes and the vine that determined what maturity truly was. One of those factors is what we call copper cane, and it may be the most important factor that sets the foundation for the style of this wine. So copper cane, as say spring, summertime, we have our shoot growth. So they're deciduous plants. The buds push, and we have this green, tender growth come out that holds our canopy and our crop for the year. As we get towards ripening, or what we call veraison, we start to see sugar distribution into the berries. And at that point, that green succulent tissue of that cane starts to go to a pale yellow color and eventually to a copper hue. And it slowly migrates up that cane, and that cane could be 40 to 60 inches long. What we want to see is that full cane over a period of months go from that green succulent tissue to a copper hue, being fully lignified, as we call it. And what that tells me is that we've had a purging of the green in the vine, and therefore a purging of the green in the wine, so no astringent characters. And we're going to have variations on our sugar levels every year. But I can tell you this leads to a much more consistent baseline for our wines, and it's been a style that we've adhered to since we began Copper Cane in 2014. with the goal of bringing luxury to everyday life. We think that fine wine should be a part of everyday experience. I think that it elevates those experiences with food, elevates the ambiance, and just elevates your passion. And so we want to see more people enjoying fine wines on a regular basis. And again, Total Wine & More is maybe the best place to go with the education that they have and the dedication they have to fine wine. So we have a question here. What is the difference in winemaking between Oregon and California Pinot Noirs? It's a great question. We really adhere to our same philosophies of copper cane, cryo extraction, our barreling program, etc. But the differences between the two are really about managing the balance. So when I talk about balance, I'm specifically talking about the structure of the wine against the natural acidity in the wine. If you have an overly structured wine with high acid, it binds up and it's got too much tension to really be open and a showy wine. The opposite end of the spectrum is true as well. Low structure, low acid. It's flabby and it doesn't kind of excite the palate, and it's not going to go well with food. So our goal is to focus on what is going to be best for each individual fermentation lot. And we focus by tasting every day and adjusting what we're doing to each fermentation. And that will inevitably get us those characters in balance, and the flavors and aromatics are going to follow suit. Then it's our job just to not screw them up over the time in aging. So our philosophies really do maintain the same. We just have to react differently to the fruit and extrapolate, again, what we got from the terroir of where these grapes are grown. There's another good question here. How long can I keep a screw top wine open? It really depends. Right now we have 2 glasses poured out of this Elouan here. It's about a third of the way down. There's a little bit of headspace here with oxygen. I would say that this may last another 3 days in this state if you keep the screw cap on. A screw cap is definitely a better format to hold wines for multiple days. But if you're not drinking 1 bottle of wine per person per night, you're probably, you're rookie numbers. You got to get those numbers up. So when we talk about, how long it will last, it'll last a few days, but we'd prefer if you enjoyed the wine within a day or two. So screw cap is a very impermeable barrier. It is a low oxygen environment. And we find that with our winemaking practices, that maintains the wine for a longer period of time as we intended it to be from the winery into the marketplace. As you may notice, our cork finished wines, like Belle Glos over here, have a wax finish. The reason for that wax finish is partly because we want an oxygen-deprived environment for our cork finished wines as well. Because again, they age more gracefully, they hold their fruit characters much longer, and so our 2 choices are either screw cap or cork with wax. How's it coming along over there, Tracy?
He's looking good, I think.
Is he muscular?
He's muscular.
He's
He's
all right.
rugged. He's chiseled. I think he's kind of a little diverse too. I think I got it. You tell me. You ready?
I cannot wait for the reveal. Oh, he's a handsome fella.
Right?
I'd
go surfing with him. Yeah. I tried to capture that rugged sort of outdoors, well-traveled. He's got a scarf on,
Yeah.
Well-traveled people always wear scarves, I feel like.
He's got his hair kind of thrown back, somewhat serious look, but a smirk like I'm ready to get out there and have a little fun.
Yeah, I think he'd be fun to drink wine with.
I think so.
Should we set up the next one?
I think let's set up the next one.
Okay.
All right, so the next wine we're going to be enjoying is the Belle Glos Clark and Telephone Vineyard Pinot Noir from Santa Maria Valley. This is a wine that's near and dear to my heart. It's the first wine I produced. And I know this wax looks intimidating, but we do have a pull tab on the top of it. Just pull that pull tab, and it'll wrap right around the top, and it will open up to have the cork easily accessible. I'm going to show that to everybody out there so you can kind of see it. It's almost like a gallon milk jug top, and it seems to work very well. So let's get this baby cracked open.
I love that sound.
There's nothing that will ever replace the sound of a cork popping off of a bottle.
The twist tops are cool, but yeah, that cork, that sound.
You're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Yep. So, let's jump right into the Belle Glos, and then I'll start talking about the brand's foundation, the brand name, and I think the true beauty of Pinot Noir expressing itself as an individual site. So this wine, while it is near and dear to my heart, it does continue to evolve. Here at Copper Cane, we always try to challenge what we've done in previous years. So it's a constant evolution. And that's what I love about winemaking. You can tweak things in the vineyard and the cellar every year, try new things, and continue to evolve not just what we're doing, but I think the industry at large. So if I'm talking about personalities of this wine, first of all, let's just look at the package. This is a redhead, I think.
For sure.
Definitely a redhead.
And she's fancy, I feel like. She's very upscale.
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Walks into a room and kind of takes it over.
Yes.
So feminine, absolutely.
Very feminine.
Yes.
I feel like right away I knew it was going to be a woman.
Yep.
But I feel like maybe a little older.
Totally agree, yeah.
Yeah.
Little more mature,
Yeah,
maybe
mature.
middle-aged,
Yes.
professional, taking life seriously.
Yes. But she has fun too. She likes to party, but she's serious too. She's on her stuff. She knows what she's about.
One thing I love about this wine is the mouthfeel. Talk about voluptuous. I mean, great descriptor, not just for a wine of this kind of character, but I think as a person, I'm going voluptuous on this for sure.
Yeah, I like that description.
Very generous wine.
Full, generous. Yes, I think those are all great descriptions. After I tasted it, I was thinking the same thing.
The Clark and Telephone Vineyard at Santa Maria Valley, which is in Santa Barbara County, and it is 100% Martini clone, which is a very unique clone. It's not planted very broadly throughout the coast here in California. What it drives, though, is this spiciness, like cinnamon, clove, and nutmeg. It's kind of got these like fiery spices in this wine, and that's one of the things we expect every year from it. So, I mean, I'd say in relationship to that, this would be kind of maybe a fiery, spicy, ruled by emotion sort of person.
Scorpio, maybe.
Scorpio, possibly.
Right? I mean, with maybe a Virgo rising because she's on her stuff. You know what I mean? She knows what she's doing.
Yeah. But she also enjoys intimacy.
Yes.
And is faithful.
I love this. This is so fun. Who is this lady?
It is just an elegant style of wine, and it is timeless. It's one of my favorites we produce. So Clark and Telephone, as the name suggests, is from the corner of Clark Avenue and Telephone Road, where the vineyard is planted. It's actually the oldest vineyard that we farm in the state, and it is actually the oldest vineyard still in Santa Maria Valley. So very proud to have that note there. Very unique place, and it's own rooted. Just an oddball sort of matchup of varietal and a site for back in the early 70s. But it was the right thing to do, and we're fortunate to be able to have taken it over in the 90s and bring it back to its glory. It is an amazing vineyard producing some of the most expressive wines I've ever seen. So the name Belle Glos, it is actually my grandmother's maiden name. She was one of the co-founders of Camus, and she was a great lover of Pinot Noir. So when trying to figure out what to name this wine, we kept coming back to her name. And the reasons for it were we wanted her name to go down in California wine history. She was a huge part as to why we're in this business today. And she was always a very humble woman, very hardworking. She did things like running the bottling line, cooking for the crews, did all the bookkeeping, the tasting room. And I don't think ever expected to have this success. She was really a farm girl to her core. And I think was very surprised by the success that we've had in the wine business. So very happy to have named it after her and carry her name on forevermore. My office was actually her garage up until 2014. And so I saw her every day. She lived to the great age of 98 years old. And she enjoyed wine just about every day. So if that's not a testament to not just a life well lived, but the health benefits of wine, I don't know what is. So with her, we honor her legacy with the Belle Glos wines going forward forevermore.
What a beautiful thing to do, to just honor your family that way. I think it's what an opportunity to get to do it. And you're right, she'll be remembered forever with the wine and with the legacy of your family. It's wonderful.
She at one point, probably in her mid-90s, and she, we were sitting at her kitchen table. So the garage door actually went right into her kitchen and sitting at her kitchen table. And we said, 10 years ago, nobody knew the Glos name. Nobody knew the story, our history. And now, you type it in and it's all over the internet. We were in all 50 states. People, appreciate this wine. They know the story. They understand what we're trying to achieve with these vineyard designated Pinot Noirs. And she kind of sits there for a moment. She goes, well, what do you guys do with all the money? And so we just laughed, but you just kind of think, she was doing bookkeeping at Camus for years, and she just kind of never lost that kind of like, well, let's think of behind the lines. She's always kept her wits about her. So this year, the 2020 vintage, we'll be celebrating our 20th anniversary for Belle Glos. That ages me like crazy. I've got 6 kids who remind me already that I'm getting older. I'm getting a few grays here and there. But just looking back and thinking of the 20 years of progress we've made with this brand and in the world of Pinot Noir in general, I think I'm proud of what we've done. And I want to thank you all out there for your support of our wines and for your love and passion of this beautiful variety we call Pinot Noir. So how's it coming along over there, Tracy?
Good. I am kind of giving her some fancy jewelry because I feel like she's very fancy. Maybe a cocktail dress. And I still have to do her red hair. I'm saving that one for last.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So speaking about Belle Glos, we do produce a number of other wines under the Belle Glos label. We do a rosé of Pinot Noir. We call it Oeil de Perdrix. It's more of a seasonal offering. Comes out in spring and summer. Just a vineyard designated rosé, but a true crisp style of rosé. The other Pinot Noirs we produce are the Los Alturas vineyard in Santa Lucia Highlands. That's our biggest, most robust style of Pinot Noir because of the site where it's grown. It's very windy, very sunny, but very cool temperatures. So maintains acidity, but has an augmented sense of character in the sense of kind of the depth and richness of that wine. So the biggest kind of our cab drinkers Pinot. Up north in the Russian River Valley, we have the Dairyman vineyard. That is really, a classic Russian River style. So that big cherry, almost like a bit of an herbal nature to it, beautiful earthiness and minerality, and like a cola sort of character, that vanilla sarsaparilla tone. So love how that wine expresses itself. Our intention with each of these wines is really to showcase, again, what these individual vineyard sites can create. And Pinot Noir is the best vehicle. So we have about 150 miles between each one of these vineyards that we farm. And our intention is to take our winemaking style and philosophy and extrapolate those characters. And I think Belle Glos has been the best way for us to be able to achieve that. I have a question about serving temperature. So this is always a great question because I think many people are misguided. And I'm the young guy that goes into a restaurant and orders a Napa cab. And if it's too warm, I ask the sommelier for an ice bucket. And the sommelier will look at me like, oh, this idiot guy is getting an ice bucket. That's only for white wines and champagne. But the truth is, you find a style and a way of drinking your wine that you enjoy most. And I've found that here in our barrel room, we're at 55 degrees, 56 degrees, and I find that red wines showcase best. I'd much rather start at a cooler temperature, let it warm up in the glass, let it develop in the glass, than to have it start at 65, 70 degrees when, you kind of get those spicier tones that overtake the fruit and the softness of the wine. So that's my recommendation on reds, 55, 56 degrees. And I'd actually encourage people to try even chilling it down. If you have some spicy food, again, Pinot Noir being what I think is the best food wine out there, drop it in your freezer for like 15 minutes. Get it down to 45 if you're having some spicy food, whether it's, carne asada tacos or spicy pad thai. Try a few new things, and a chilled Pinot Noir is amazing with really spicy hot foods. One last reminder on our raffle. Again, winemaker Joe at coppercane.com. If you guys want to enter to win one of these, we're giving away all 3 of these portraits that Tracy is doing, along with a bottle of wine. So just email that winemaker Joe at coppercane.com and make the title Art of Pino. So how is it coming along, Tracy?
It's coming along really well. She is classy for sure. And I feel like she's about to have a really good conversation, like she's about to jump right into it. You'll see when I turn it around, I promise.
Well, if you haven't checked out her artwork already, check out Tracy Piper online, and you'll see some of her portrait work. It's absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. It's very unique. And she does have quite the following. So the collectors and whatnot that are out there, we hope that they're also chiming in and enjoying watching her in action while we are putting a face to each one of these wines.
So I am a fine artist. I'm known pretty much through most of the US and a little bit around the world. Yeah, and I actually have an upcoming show in August with Voss Gallery in San Francisco. I'm doing a lot of new stuff, so I'm excited about it.
All right.
Yeah. All right, and I think she's done.
She's done?
Yeah, you ready?
I am ready. I cannot wait to see this one. Oh, yes. I think you nailed the red hair. Love it. Love those eyes. She has a kind of a sultry look to her.
Well, I felt like the wine had kind of a sultry mouthfeel. It's a little silky, It's like something you want to keep drinking. So I just want to keep looking at her. I mean,
yeah. I think she may be looking for some intimate moments.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the intimacy's there. Well, cool.
Awesome. Well, Tracy, thank you very much for coming. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you all out there, and thank you again, Total Wine and More, for the partnership that we have. We look forward to continuing fine wine education and continuing to fill your glass with great wines throughout the West Coast. So cheers and thank you. Let's do this again.
Cheers. Thank
Cheers.
you.